And the cameraman. Okay.
Tracy Connor, a staff writer for NBC News, reported about the murder of 2 adults and 3 children that occurred in New Mexico on January 22nd, 2013. This mother and father and their 3 children, ages 9, 5, and 2, were brutally murdered by their 15-year-old son. This 15-year-old boy, who was taught how to shoot a gun by his father, claimed the reason for his massacre was due to a disagreement with his mother. Upon reading this article, I found myself sick to my stomach, wondering how a simple disagreement could lead to such a brutal end. Upon further reading, it was revealed by Dan Houston, a Bernalillo County sheriff, that the 15-year-old boy was unemotional when talking about the death of his family, but perked up when asked to explain his feelings about his violent video games, including Modern Warfare and Grand Theft Auto. According to Houston, it was these violent video games that led this 15-year-old boy to murder his 5 family members. According to the NBC News article, the teen boy had a passion for the video games and wanted to bring them to life. This is just one of many cases where violent video games are linked to hostile and irrational behavior. Playing video games has become a popular activity for people of all ages, but especially children and adolescents who spend the most time playing them. Video gaming has grown to be a multi-billion-dollar industry, bringing in more money than movies and DVDs, according to the Paleo Alto Medical Foundation. While some video games do have educational content, many of the most popular games available today include violent content. According to an article published in June of 2013 by Procon.com, in 2008, the 10 of the top 20 best-selling video games in the United States included violent behavior. This violent content of video games is linked to aggressive behavior in adolescents, according to numerous studies. This correlation is what I will be discussing with you today, and the reasons why video games with violent content should be heavily monitored when played by children or adolescents. The ever-improving technology of the video gaming industry has advanced with better graphics, providing for a realistic experience while playing the game. This realistic experience, however, has brought many avid players to feel as if they are actually the ones committing the crime while playing the game, which has put a powerful force in adolescents' lives. According to Gentile and Anderson, in a research report from 2003, playing video games may increase aggressive behavior because violent acts are continually repeated throughout the game. The researchers concluded that players who had prior experience playing violent video games responded with increased levels of aggression when encountering confrontation. The interactive quality of video games differs from watching TV or movies because video games allows players to be active participants in the game. According to an article published by Dr. Bushman, a professor at Ohio State University, a study was conducted where children were randomly chosen to either play a violent video game or watch a violent video game as it was being played. The results showed that the boys who played the violent video game were more aggressive afterwards than the boys who merely watched. Players benefit from engaging in acts of violence by being rewarded with a point system or moving on to the next level. This reward system does not teach children and adolescents about moral consequences. There are many other concerns about the effects of violent video games on young people who play them excessively. According to the American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, children exposed to violence have shown that they become immune or numb when exposed to violence or horror. The results also show that some children accept violence as a way to handle problems. Studies have also shown that the more realistic and repeated the exposure to violence, the greater the impact it has on children. In addition, children with emotional, behavioral, or learning problems may be more influenced by violent video games. Children and adolescents can also become overly involved and even obsessed with these games. Now, I'm not saying that because a child or an adolescent plays a violent video game once, they will be more prone to have irrational behavior. What I'm saying is this correlation is stemming from the adolescents who spend hours on end playing these games. I took an interest on this topic because I have witnessed from a first-hand experience the obsessive behavior with video games when my brothers used to spend around 20 hours a week playing these games. In a study by Walsh in 2000, majority of teens admitted that their parents do not limit the amount of time they spend playing video games. The study also showed that most parents do not know the content published by the Entertainment Software Rating Board of the video games that their children play. In another study conducted by Gentile, Lynch, Linder, and Walsh in 2004, adolescent girls played on average 5 hours a week for video games, whereas adolescent boys averaged 13 hours a week. The authors also stated that teens that play violent video games for extended periods of time tend to be more aggressive and are more prone to confrontation. The information I have presented today is alarming to hear. While it would be close to impossible to shut down the video gaming industry from allowing them to produce video games that include violence, there are things to do to help your loved ones from falling into the negative effects of prolonged exposure to violent video games. First of all, I encourage you to understand the ratings as published by the Entertainment Software Rating Board and how the ratings of the content of the game understand the content of the game before purchasing it. The ESRB ratings have 3 parts, which include rating categories, content descriptors, and interactive elements. I have made copies for all of you to look at to further understand the ESRB ratings and what each of the ratings stand for. I'll pass this out to the audience. Second, it is crucial that you monitor the amount of time allowed per week that you allow your loved ones to play these video games and do not allow them to exceed that time. Because I stress the importance of this to my parents, my brothers now spend much less time playing video games, and my parents have noticed an all-around improvement in their general attitudes. To conclude, I challenge all of you who have loved ones who enjoy playing video games to be nosy. Find out the content and rating of the game and make sure it's appropriate for their age or maturity level. Play the game with the loved one and understand what they are really playing. Talk about the content of the game that you see and put the game in a public space. And finally, if you are unhappy about the inappropriate or offensive material in the game, I urge you to call the game makers and stress this to them. If more adults understood the games their children were playing, we could hopefully decrease the amount of instances where violent games are the cause. If you fully understand what the game includes when purchasing it and monitor the amount of time spent playing the game, your loved ones are much less likely to suffer the negative effects of violent video games.